What if you could auto-post to Pinterest directly from a Google Sheet without ever logging in? In this video, I'll show you how to fully automate Pinterest posting in just a few clicks using make.com. For this example, I want to make pins about healthy living, working out, and eating well. So let's go ahead and hit generate and see what this comes up with. And this is getting outputted as Markdown. So there's a very neat tool that we can use to convert Markdown into something that we can copy paste directly into Google Sheets. Markdown to Google Sheets. And we've got docs to markdown.com. Perfect. So here it's a really neat website. I'm going to add a link in the description. We can just paste the Markdown table here and we'll get a Google Doc formatted content right here. So once this thing is done generating, we can go ahead and still waiting on this. Perfect. So I'm just going to copy this whole thing. Let's go ahead here and paste it. I'm just going to hit copy and let's go ahead to a new spreadsheet that I've made. Here, let's hit paste and beautiful. So it's just a couple of things that we need to polish. Title, quote, perfect. We can remove this one renegade row and let's give that some spacing just so we can see what's going on. Perfect. Now let's add one more column, and in that column we're going to write him upload to him. And for now, we're just going to put no because obviously all of these have not been uploaded yet. And this is the column that this is the data point that make.com is going to check to know whether, for which row that it needs to run the automation on. So now that this is done, let's add one more called Pinterest description. So it's just so we have a record of everything that has been posted. And now our Google Sheet is ready. And the next thing we want to do is head over to RenderForm.io. RenderForm is an amazing piece of software where you can create templates and then you can use automation or even some software to dynamically add elements to those templates. I'm not sure what I mean. So if you subscribe to the free tier, you get 50 free credits. That's 50 images. And if you do decide to get the paid version, it's very cheap. It's like $9 for 100 images. So that's almost like a whole month's worth of Pinterest content for just $9. So I've already made an account, so I'm just gonna go ahead and sign in and let's see. Okay, perfect. So the first thing that we want to do is we need to create a few templates. So I'm going to go to my templates. And you see, I have already created some, but if we wanted to create some new ones, I will go ahead and click create new template. And for our purposes, where we need a Pinterest pin, so we can just go ahead and use some of these blueprints here, because these are very useful. And we can just modify them slightly. So let's go ahead and create a template. I'm going to create 2 for now, but you can really create as many as you need. So this is what it looks like once you're inside RenderForm. And you can see that we have 4 different elements on this template. We have a border, we have a description, which is this text here. We have a title, which is this text here. And we also have an image, which is this image here. And what we're going to do is we are going to dynamically replace each and every one of these elements, these 3 elements, using make.com. So the first thing we want to do is we want to grab the template identifier. So the identifier is basically a very specific, this is how make.com will know which particular template it needs to work with. So we're going to grab this identifier. We're going to go back to our Google Sheet. And I'm going to create a new sheet called templates. And here I'm just going to paste this in, and let's go back and okay, so within this template, let's just make sure that we have all of our other identifiers. Okay, so the description is the ID is description, perfect. So the title ID is title, and the image ID is image. So that's all we need for now. this template is ready to go. You can change the font if you want to. You can make little bits of changes. I'm gonna go back. Let's go ahead and hit save, and let's go back to my templates, and let's go ahead and create one more template. So let's go ahead and choose another one. Let's go ahead and create one from. Let's create a blank template. So this is just the size, and we can add some elements as well. So you want to image, we think. You just need to go ahead and grab the identifier here. It's going to copy and let's paste this here. So we now have two templates that we could work with. Right.com, create a new scenario. Now this scenario is going to be triggered with Google Sheets. So in Google Sheets, we are going to search for rows. So if you don't, I already have my connection set up, but if you don't have it, you can just go ahead and click add and you can log in with Google Sheets and that'll let you go. So select from my drive, spreadsheet ID. We can go ahead and search for the spreadsheet. We have Pinterest pins, make.com workflow. Perfect. Now the sheet name is going to be quotes new because that's the sheet that we're working with. This one down here. And the table does contain headers. So we do want to add a filter. So the filter is that pin uploaded is not equal to no. And we only want to return one result. So basically what this is going to do, we're going to search the entire spreadsheet, and the first row that it finds where the pin uploaded is not no. Sorry, is equal to no, not my mistake, is equal to no. The first pin that it finds where pin uploaded is equal to no is the sheet that is the row that it's going to return. I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. Perfect. Sometimes we need to just hit save 2 times for this to work. Perfect. Let's go ahead and put this a name. Gosh, perfect. Save that. Let's go ahead and run once and make sure that we are returning the correct row. So let's see what the output is. So the output is stronger every day, progress, not perfection. And if we go back here, perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. So the next thing we need to do is create a chat completion. And what this chat completion is going to do is it is going to generate a prompt. And the first thing that we're doing is based off of the quote and description, we want to come up with a nice image. So let's go ahead and select your OpenAI connection. If you don't have one, you can go ahead and click add. Click add, you can create a new connection, head over to platform.openai.com and you can go ahead and create the API key from there. I've already showed this in a couple of other videos. So you want to create a chat completion. The model is going to be, you can choose any, but 4 or latest is more than enough for this. Now let's go ahead and add our prompt. So the row is going to be a user and the text content is going to be our prompt. Right, you can see this entire prompt here. Perfect. And here we have text. Now the text is going to be the title, space, and the quote. This is the text that we're using, okay? And we want to add another prompt here called developer system, and the output has JSON. The format should be correct. And we can go show advanced settings. Response format is JSON object, and we do want to parse the JSON response as well. So the benefit of using of forcing ChatGPT to output a JSON object is it outputs exactly what you need. Otherwise, there's a lot of other artifacts like, sure, here's a prompt for your image generation. Oh, that's a really great idea. So they're kind of extraneous details that ChatGPT tends to throw in. Forcing it to output the object as JSON eliminates all of that, and it just gives you exactly what you want. And it's very easy to take that piece of data and use it in and use it in your further prompts. So let's go ahead and click save. And okay, sorry, we just need to open that one more time and do it again. Save. Perfect. Let's go ahead and run that to make sure everything's working exactly how we are expecting it. Okay. And you can see the result, and we have the prompt. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and continue building this out. So now that we have the prompt ready, it's time to generate the image. Or in order to generate the image, we're going to be using replicate.com. So you can go ahead to replicate.com, create an account. You need to use GitHub to create an account and log in. It's free. I do believe they offer some free credits for verifying your phone number, but otherwise you can just top this up with like $5 and that'll be more than enough to get you started. So now let's go ahead, and once you're in here, we're going to go to Explore, and we are going to choose the model that we're looking for. So they have a lot of different models. The cheapest one that they have is called Flux Schnell. It costs like 1/3 of a cent to generate one image, which is very cheap to get started. Obviously, you can use the other Flux ones as well, which are and there's a lot of different models that you can use. But for now, let's just go ahead and stick to Flux Schnell. You can use anything. Any one of these models would work for you. Okay, perfect. And now that we're here, we can go ahead and click the HTTP button here. We can see the format that we need to provide in order to make this API call. So here is the URL. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and grab that URL, copy, and create a new module. We want to make an HTTP request. Make a request. Correct. The URL is going to be this, and we don't want to get request because we're not asking for data, we're actually sending data. So we're going to use a post request. So headers, so let's go back to replicate and see what kind of headers that we need. So the headers, the H denotes a header. So first you have an authorization header. I'm just going to copy this, drop that back in here, and it's called bearer. And then whatever your API key is. So if you don't have an API key, you can go here, go to API tokens and create a new API key. I've already got an API key of my own, so I'm just going to grab that. Add my API key. I'm going to blur that out. Okay, we have to add a few more headers. So the next header is content type. And the content type is application JSON. Let's go ahead and copy that. Okay, application JSON. Perfect. Now the next thing we need to do is under body tag, you want to use raw. Content type is JSON because that's the format that we're working with. And you have to start copying from this curly brace and you have to stop at that curly brace. Let's go ahead and copy that. What we really need to change is just the prompt that we generated. So we can erase this and go to result and prompt. This is the actual prompt that we're getting. You can change any of these fields if you need to. If you want to change the aspect ratio, we can even use like a 4:3 aspect ratio. And that is ready to go. And we do want to parse the response as well. So let's go ahead and save and save this scenario as well. Now we also want to, we'll have to run this once to evaluate it in order to proceed. So let's go ahead and run that. So we've made the request, and you can see from the output that we have data, URLs, and here is the get URL. So basically, if we make a request to this URL, we can then download the image that we have started to generate. So it usually takes a few seconds for this to work. So we can go ahead and add another module, and it's called a sleep module, which basically delays the execution for X amount of seconds. So 10 seconds is more than enough because this is a fairly fast model. If you're using a different model, you may need to increase the sleep time. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make another HTTP request, and this time we want to find the actual URL of the generated image. So go back to make a request. The URL is this URL from HTTP make a request, and we want to get URL. Perfect. Headers, same thing. We want to add a authorization header. And it's going to be bearer and your API keys. Bearer and the API key that you had generated earlier. It is useful to jot it down somewhere or to, to save it in the notes app or something. Okay, there, perfect. We don't need any body or anything. We just need to make a GET request using the authorization, and we will find the URL. So just in order to test this, since we already have the URL from here, I'm just going to go to download output bundles, and we can see that we have the entire URL here. So if we start the scenario from from the very beginning, it's going to put another GET request. So we're just going to start from here. Let's go ahead and get this URL, go back here, and we want to run this module only. This is the URL. Okay. Perfect. So now let's see what the output is. Um, output, and here, this is the address of the image. Perfect. So now that we have this ready, we can go ahead and make another GET request, and this time it's going to be get a file. The URL is going to be the output from this last number 5 HTTP request. So the URL is output, and this is the file. Right. Let's just try running it from the very beginning and see if that works. Okay, perfect. So we see that we have indeed downloaded an image, and these funny numbers are actually the image file that we have downloaded. Perfect. Now, the next thing that we want to do is, since we have multiple templates that we're working with, we can actually create a small randomization function. We'll choose at random from the templates that we have created here. So every time you run this, one time it may choose this one, other time it will choose this one. And really, you can add as many templates as you want. And every time it'll just pick up a random template, which makes this automation incredibly powerful. So let's go back here and let's create that randomization automation. So now we need to go to Google Sheets, and this time we need to get range values. Get range values. Perfect. So let's go ahead and select. So we have, make sure it's the right Google connection, and the spreadsheet ID is going to be the same spreadsheet that we'd created earlier. Let's go ahead and see where that is. PinterestPigsMate.com. This time the sheet name is going to be templates, and the range is going to be the range of cells that we're working with. So right now it's just A1 to A2. So I'm going to go back here. Let's go ahead and add that A1 to A2. If you had more templates, then you would obviously go down as far as you needed to. So let's go back here. There are no headers in this case because I don't have headers here. So I'm just going to leave that blank. Let's go ahead and click save. And let's just run this module only and see. So we do have our outputs. We have this row here, and we have this row here. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is we are going to aggregate these range values into an array using a special tool called the array aggregator. And the source module is get range values. The target structure type can be custom, and the range values that we're looking for are the A range values, because this is the A column. That's what we're working with. And now that we have our array aggregated and set up, we now need to add 2 more modules that will work as the randomization. So the first thing that we're going to do is, let's go ahead and just run the whole thing to see what we can come up with. Okay. So we do need to run this because we do need to get the image, the length of the array, which is 2. Okay, so now let's go ahead and set a variable. Variable name can be random number, and the variable value is going to be this little function here. So we just need to replace that interface. Okay, perfect. Set another variable. And this variable is going to be the template that we are working with. So let's look at more specific. Let's go to selected template. Perfect. And the variable value is going to be this plus this random number. and it's this array here. Okay. So we are going to look at this entire array. We're going to pull a random number and we'll see whatever template that is. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and save. And just so that we stop and just to make sure this is running and that we don't end up generating multiple images, I'm just going to unlink these for now. So just by pulling the clock over here, actually we didn't need to unlink that as well. So just by unlinking this and pulling the clock over here, the function is going to, the workflow is now going to start from here. So let's go ahead and click run once and just make sure that we are indeed pulling a random template out of the whole thing. So we do have as an output the name of one of the templates. Link this up again. And you can see that works automatically. Let's go ahead and click save and hit auto align just to make things nice and pretty. So now everything is ready to go. The only thing that we now need to do is actually generate a description for the pin, save that to our spreadsheet, save that to Pinterest, and finally update the spreadsheet. We've already completed this row. So now what we got to do is go back to ChatGPT, create a completion. If the model is for our latest user text content is now going to be this. This is the in. And for the actual quote itself, we have to go back down here. Just to make sure that ChatGPT doesn't screw this up, we're going to add a developer prompt output as JSON format description text. Perfect. Short and settings responsible that is JSON object, and we do want to parse the JSON response. Save. We now have to pop into RenderForm. I've already set up a RenderForm connection. If you don't, you can go ahead and click add, and from RenderForm you can pull your API key from here. Right? You just go ahead and click here. There, we can grab your API key. I've already got that set up. So the template identifier. Now we can either choose something from here, but since we're doing it programmatically, we can go ahead and just map that as the selected template from the set variable, right? And template properties. So these are the specific properties that we need to change. Well, let's go back to RenderForm and see what those properties are. Let's go to templates, and then you'll see that we have created these two templates here. So I'm gonna let's go ahead and edit this template since the properties are the same across the board. So the first property is called image, right? So we're going to buy our image and image dot src, and the value of that is this particular file. See, the value of that is the URL of the file that we had generated. So output, here we go. Okay. So the next option that we need to modify is the subtitle.text. Is the title.text, title.text value. And if you scroll back down here, that is the title. And the final property is the subtitle. So subtitle.text. You go here, scroll down, and pull the subtitle as well. So we are going to populate these three fields on RenderForm. Go ahead and hit save. So as we're doing this, we actually can eliminate the get a file function, right? Because that's extra. We don't need to download the file right now. We're going to just directly send the file from Replicate into RenderForm. So we can actually remove this. So now that everything is ready, let's go ahead and hit run once and see if the template actually did get saved. Okay, so we do indeed have a result URL. Let's go back to RenderForm. See whether, okay, so beautiful. You see, we have a ready image, we have our title, and we have our subtitle. Now, obviously, the template needs a little bit of work, but with just a little bit of tender loving care, you can really make this look very special. Okay, perfect. So we do know that everything is working. Now, the last thing left to do is to actually post this on Pinterest. and to update the Google Sheet. So we want to put interest, create a pin. But same thing, you do need to create a connection here. So if you don't have one, you can go ahead and click add. And you can create a new Pinterest connection. The source type is going to be an image URL, right? That's what we have. The image URL is the href from RenderForm. Okay. The board, if you don't have a board, you need to go to Pinterest and add a board. I've already got one here, so I'm just going to add whichever one that I have ready. Anyway, there's doesn't have to be, you don't have to add any board section. The title, of course, is the title that we had generated here. So let's go to stronger every day. The description is the description that we generated from ChatGPT. The alt text can just be the same description. And if you want, you can also add a link. You can add that link from the spreadsheet and pull that, where he click save. And finally, you need to go back to Google Sheets, and we need to update a row, right? So the spreadsheet ID is, we can actually enter the spreadsheet ID manually because we already load the spreadsheet from here. So this is the spreadsheet ID. The sheet main is quotes new. The row number is the row number that we pulled in here. So it's going to be a row number. And the column range is the column that we're working with. So if you go back to quotes new, the column number is 1, 2, and 3. Column range is A to C. Perfect. So column C is now going to be yes. So with all of that done, your automation is now ready to go. And if you just hit run once, it'll generate everything. It'll push the pin to Pinterest, and finally it'll update that Google Sheet. And this is going to change from no to yes. And you can set whatever interval that you want for this to run at. You can do regular intervals once every day, specific dates, or you can do it on demand as well. Turn it on, and your Pinterest profile is going to run completely automated. If you do decide to add more templates to your RenderForm account, you can just go back to set a variable. And you can just go back to Google Sheets and just make sure that your range reflects the additional templates that you have created here.